Doomsday. The end of the world. We don't know when it will happen, but we have some ideas about how.
They have opened Pandora's box here.
It throws a fireball up into the sky.
These are the ultimate worst-case doomsday events that could wipe us out.
Its energy can destroy our planet.
These things are unstoppable. They leave behind nothing.
And every one of these doomsday scenarios has secrets.
Here's the big secret that scares me.
Top secrets that are about to be revealed.
This is the way the world ends.
Ever wondered what the worst doomsday is? Prep yourself. You're about to find out.
These things are unstoppable. They leave behind nothing.
20,000 people were killed or are still missing. It was one of the most destructive tsunamis in 1,000 years. But here's the secret.
3/4 of all the biggest earthquakes that we experience on our planet are concentrated around the Pacific Rim. That's what caused the tsunami in Japan, and that will generate a similar event off the coast of North America.
We know it will happen, we just don't know when.
Well, all the way from Northern California right up to Vancouver Island in Canada, the crust of the Pacific Ocean is forcing its way down underneath the North American plate.
This fault in North America is called the Cascadia Subduction Zone.
It's about 50 miles offshore, so it's a submarine fault. That's a critical point because in order to get a tsunami, the earthquake has to happen beneath the sea.
On average, about every 500 years, Cascadia makes an earthquake that ruptures the entire length of the subduction zone.
The last time a major earthquake occurred here was in 1700.
That puts us within the window when we could expect another of these events anytime.
If we look back at 1700, that was a magnitude 9+ earthquake.
Magnitude 9 earthquake is really the largest known energy release there is on Earth.
You might ask, how serious could this be for modern-day America?
That fault will start to rip from south to north, unleashing unfathomable amounts of energy all along the northwestern coast of the United States.
It almost feels like the land turns into the ocean and everything rolls like you're on a ship at sea.
Infrastructure would be damaged, power grids would be knocked out. Tall buildings particularly would suffer from this very long-duration shaking.
As these waves roll through the ground, they start to pump groundwater up and out, and you'd start to see fountains of groundwater.
And so buildings will sink into it, they will subside, they will collapse.
Bridge decks can slip off their supports.
Roads torn in half.
Evacuating by car would be virtually impossible.
There'll be no communication between the impacted areas and the outside world. No one will know what's going on. And that's just the beginning.
During the earthquake, when that tip of the North American plate comes up, that's lifting up a chunk of the ocean that's 700 miles long, as much as 100 miles wide. Now that giant chunk of ocean has to go somewhere, and that's the tsunami.
In deep water, these things can travel with the speed of a jumbo jet.
It'll start coming in about 20 minutes, and then it'll spread along the coast and hit pretty much everything from British Columbia to Northern California.
A surge of water, 30 to 100 feet high, sweeps in, submerging the devastated area.
Every cubic yard or so of water weighs a ton, and that's hitting the shore as a wall of water which stays at that same level for maybe several minutes.
Anything that was left gets swept away.
Houses, buildings, there's really nothing that can resist that power.
It's difficult to imagine a situation any worse than this in a modern developed country.
Coastal devastation is nothing compared to a chilling countrywide terrorist attack aimed at crippling a nation.
In 2002, President George W. Bush receives a letter from a few concerned scientists. The message is blunt. The US is open to attack from a new breed of terrorist.
In this letter, they outline a terrifying scenario. Terrorist organization takes over the electric power grid. From there, cascading failures occur across other critical infrastructures. Telecommunications and air traffic control systems go down. The United States grinds to a halt.
This is all achieved in cyberspace.
The internet has become this ungovernable, global, living thing. It's the Achilles heel of modern societies. The first step in any traditional military conflict is to take out command and control and communications. And today, that means the internet. This is cyber terrorism.
In 2010, a highly sophisticated computer virus gets into the industrial control facilities of Iran's Natanz nuclear plant. The goal of this virus is to destroy vital equipment needed to enrich uranium at the plant. This act of sabotage puts Iran's nuclear plan back by years.
That virus is known as Stuxnet. The secret is the U.S. National Security Agency, which is part of the Department of Defense, created and unleashed Stuxnet.
Stuxnet is a game changer. Now that it's out there, its code is being re-engineered constantly by bad boy hackers all over the world.
We've seen 4 major viruses in the last 3 years that are in one way, shape, or form related to Stuxnet.
In 2012, a virus appeared in Saudi oil infrastructure.
That virus destroyed 30,000 computers. What's scary is that U.S. intelligence agencies have said that they believe that this particular virus was the work of Iranian hackers.
More threatening than cyber terrorism is cyber war.
Stuxnet may in fact be the impetus behind a new global cyber arms race. The United States has now set a standard for the world that it is acceptable for countries to use the most advanced cyber weapons ever developed against the infrastructures of other nations. They have opened Pandora's box here.
The militaries of many countries now think of computer networks as just another domain of battle like air, sea, or space. There are computer viruses out there that could cripple the economic and military capabilities of any country.
The failure of a nation-state in the 21st century is frightening. But what if the whole of the Western world ground to a halt?
If we carry on as we are looking to the death of our species.
Right now, the population is 7 billion. By the middle of the century, it's expected to go up to 8.2 billion. And that's what we've always worried about, that the population would just increase and increase until the Earth couldn't hold all the people. But here's the secret.
It's not population increase that we need to fear in the 21st century, it's population decrease. That's the real doomsday scenario.
By the end of this century, Germany will lose 80% of its population because there just aren't enough babies being born. The rest of the world is following suit.
Throughout human history, there have always been more young people than old people. But across the world, in Asia, the Americas, Europe, populations are getting older, the birth rate is dropping, and we're getting close to a tipping point.
We are about to become an old species with many more people over 60 than under 15.
It's been called the gray tsunami.
The problem with the gray tsunami is that there simply won't be the innovators. There won't be the young people to do the work, to come up with ideas.
How long can a society continue with more and more dependents and fewer workers? We just don't know. It's a catastrophe that's a result of us getting what we want. We don't want to have kids. We want to go to restaurants. We want to go to shows. We want to buy an extra car. We want to have another house. And because we're doing those things, we're not doing the business of reproducing.
The situation's got so desperate that in some countries, Germany, Russia, Australia, the government's actually bribing people with thousands of dollars of incentives to have children. Unfortunately, it's not working.
This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper.
Doomsday scenarios are sometimes dismissed as science fiction, but recent discoveries in space have made them potentially scary science facts. Right now, dramatic discoveries in our own galaxy are having profound implications for humankind's future survival.
What the universe is made up of in one place, it's made up of the exact same stuff everywhere else. Life is made up of the same matter, carbon, oxygen, water that we find all over the universe. So chances are life is everywhere.
NASA has this planet-finding telescope in space. It's called Kepler. And it's looking at about 150,000 stars. In that region of space, we found about 2,000 or more planets.
Based on these discoveries, scientists now believe that within our galaxy, there are perhaps 150 billion alien worlds.
Some of them are very strange in their composition. There's a planet that's made of diamond.
They found super Earths 10 times bigger than Earth, but in the right location from their sun that they might have liquid water, ice, an atmosphere, and could harbor life.
Chances are that if there's life, eventually it will evolve into intelligent life. The question is, if there are these intelligent aliens out there, are they hostile?
One of the terrifying things is, if these aliens come to Earth, they're not going to be dumb.
Because they were able to travel from wherever they came from to here, and we certainly don't have that technology.
When we see an invasive species move into a new environment, typically it's not good for the native inhabitants. And in this case, we're the native inhabitants.
And this raises the question of what happens to us.
They might look at us and they might think that, hey, these are interesting and novel creatures that we'd like to keep as pets. Or they might want to put our heads on the wall as a trophy. Or they might think, hey, these guys look delicious, let's eat them.
They could just eradicate us with some sort of technology that they have that we don't understand.
Now, here's the secret. We shouldn't be worrying about spaceships decimating the planet because another alien invasion might have already happened.
Bacteria has the ability to survive the expanses of space, to survive the vacuum, to survive the heat of re-entry. The alien intelligence doesn't have to get here to wipe us out. It could instead be simply alien bacteria carried by a meteor traveling between the worlds.
Every day we're bombarded by material from space. Up to 2 tons of it ends up in Earth's atmosphere. And any of this matter could harbor microscopic alien invaders.
What if that was the first alien invasion?
Alien bacteria may find our human body a nice, warm, wet place to exist and to eat us alive. And that bacteria has the potential to wipe out all of humanity and all of life as we know it.
There's nothing we can do about doomsday from deep space. But this next scenario is a man-made catastrophe that could be averted with just a flick of a switch.
This is someone pushing a button. This is a decision by human beings saying, today we're going to end everyone's life, and we're going to do it by lunchtime.
The first thing that happens is a blinding flash.
It fills the horizon in front of you.
The next thing that happens is an intense wave of heat that can literally reduce things to their constituent atoms.
The oxygen is sucked out of your lungs.
The vacuum sucks up all of the debris into itself, creating a huge column of irradiated debris.
Nuclear war is the ultimate doomsday scenario.
By 1983, the Cold War had reignited. There were new nuclear systems coming online, both in the United States and the Soviet Union, and there was an aggressive rhetoric coming out of both Washington and Moscow. Both sides now are putting weapons into place that can reach each other within 7-8 minutes, reducing the amount of time for a decision about whether or not to begin a nuclear war, whether or not to incinerate the entire northern hemisphere, from minutes to seconds. Both sides now have created a situation where a first strike is not only possible, it's plausible.
It got the Soviets thinking, if the US did attack us,